Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony podcast about
Thing.
about it's kind of a bit spontaneous this one, and it's I thought of a good topic of why Doctor Who views are dropping
Yeah, because they've been dropping for a little while now.
over the years. Yeah, as it came back, it was kind of they were always solidly in 8 million, 9 million at times,
7 million.
7 million.
I think
least.
7 million for years was kind of the standard, at least throughout David Tennant's reign.
And then it's kind of slowly starting to peel off, and we're just going to discuss what we think are the reasons behind that and why that's occurred. Because I think there's a few reasons which, obviously, there's some reasons like the writing, which we'll go into, and the choices of who's playing the Doctor, which we'll also go into. But there's also some which I think people haven't really touched on. But I think let's start with the obvious ones.
Yeah.
So general writing has been a bit on and off over the years. I'd say that last two seasons have been pretty solid, actually.
Yes.
Series 9 and 10.
It was like I talked to a lot of people, like tons of people, who say they dropped off around series 5.
Yeah.
Just because like the writing got more complex and weird, and it just wasn't to their taste. Like a lot of people just gave up at that moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were kind of sad that David left, and I think people that was there where everybody was like, okay, I'm going to stop watching now. I think a lot of people left even before Matt took over.
Yeah, I still believe really that the best way would have been for David to do one more season just to help that transition, because I think the whole thing would have gone a lot smoothly.
Yeah. Also, I think the I don't want to go line obviously upset some fans because they're like, oh well, I want to stay loyal to my Doctor then, you know. And then I think a lot of fans dropped off during Series 6.
Oh yeah,
I think that was a really damaging season because it was I think it was just everything connected too much, and you had to watch from the beginning. But like the thing about Doctor Who is supposed to be you could jump in at any point in the series and be able to watch it and pick it up really.
And there are a few episodes in there which you could.
Yeah, like the God Complex,
Night Terrors,
the Doctor's Wife, but that's like 3 out of what was it, 13?
Yeah, a lot
that
of
point.
them.
So
there were entire episodes dedicated to just the plot of the overall series, which is something that didn't really happen before, really. Unless you count two-parters, but...
Yeah, but I think two-parters are fine, because, I mean, yeah, you can't jump on number 2 without watching number 1, really.
Yeah.
But, like, then all you do is just go back and have to watch that one episode. But the problem is when it's the
like
entire
that.
series that you have to go and re-watch just to kind of follow it.
Yeah.
So a lot dropped off then, and then Series 7 was a bit meh, really. When you look back, it's a bit here, there, everywhere in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Especially Part 2 is a bit weak when you look at it in hindsight.
The 50th brought in big numbers, but that's because it was the 50th.
And they celebrated a lot. So yeah, I'd say I think the direction Moffat went in, he was trying to make this a big kind of...
Well, he was trying to make it actually a decent amount of modern shows, which is kind of
like a soap.
More of a continuing story that is passed on from week to week. The issue with doing that on actual TV is that, because Doctor Who...
not a weekly show. It's not a weekly show.
The issue is that a lot of these other shows which are on now, you look at your Game of Thrones and your,
Walking Dead.
Stuff like that. And, if you don't catch it on TV, you can get it on various different streaming services, like, right off the bat anyway. And stuff like that. So, but Doctor Who never really did that. I mean, you can catch up on the iPlayer.
But that's only if you're in this country.
That's only if there's in this country, and it's only if you care, as it were. Some people just don't bother with the iPlayer.
Also, I don't really think... yeah, a lot of people don't. But I think also a problem was then they started splitting the series in two, which I don't think helped Doctor Who either, because it would be on for a few weeks and then it would just suddenly disappear, and they didn't that kind of brings me on to the second point of advertising. I think the advertising's not been as good recently. They don't start kind of putting trailers out for it until way too close to the time, and when they do, they kind of show everything. Like a good example is John Sim in this most recent series returning. That's it was a big card, and they basically showed it. Like they're the worst at playing poker.
Admittedly, that might have even drawn a few people in to see it. But
That
at the
is
same
true.
time, you know,
It kind of, yeah, I know, I think it damaged it as more. And I mean, like, I just don't see as much anymore, like, merchandise-wise. I see all the kind of
excitement.
general stuff, but anything related to, like, a series, I don't see that much
yeah.
anymore.
I mean, I have to say, well, you know, of course, in its early seasons, of course, the show's going to do better at its early season than its later, just because there's excitement there for the beginning, and there's, like, you know, like a lot of new people coming in. And, you know, of course, David managed to continue that just because he was popular and like relevant with the kids, as it were.
Yeah, and I think we don't...
Matt Smith seemed like almost trying too hard to kind of pander. At least in the first series, they kind of simultaneously made him too much like David Tennant, but also tried to make him a bit more pandery to the slightly more modern era, as it were, I'd say.
Yeah, I also think it tried to become a bit too gimmicky. That might be a mistake, you know, with the fezzes and the bow ties are cool, and it's like great catchphrases, but it's not really a...
And perhaps it's trying too hard to be a catchphrase.
It was trying too hard, because I mean, fantastic.
Trying to be
it's
hip.
just a word you say when you're happy, but saying bow ties are cool, you kind of have to force that into a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't just like open up a door and go, bow ties are cool, you know, but if you see something cool, you would say fantastic if that's the word which you commonly use, you know?
Of course. Yeah, and that's just the thing, like, you know, if you try to appeal too much to be hip with the modern era, it sometimes kind of backfires. David Tennant's Doctor, in a lot of ways, is kind of almost more timeless, you know. Actually, that's possibly also an issue with Capaldi as well. They very much tried to put in a lot of, like, modern things, and a lot of modern references, and sometimes it kind of hits the mark, but other times it feels like this old show's trying to... It's like a granddad trying to be hip with the kids, you know,
yeah.
at times. You know, I think they should really...
It was like when Missy dabbed in the most recent episode. It was like...
I'd honestly say that it's possibly... You know, I think initially we kind of talked about, like, the younger generation being turned off. The older generation, the ones who may have even grown up with the show, are possibly even being put off by some of the directions and some of the things that they're saying in the new series, just because it's, you know, like, it's straying away. It's being
from what it used to be, because I think people like Doctor Who because it wasn't a soap. People don't want to watch a soap. If you want to watch a soap, you know, you watch Coronation Street, which is perfectly good television. I'm not saying anything bad against soaps, but Doctor Who isn't really supposed to be a soap kind of thing. You're supposed to have these powerful characters and powerful scenes, but it's not supposed to be, oh, my wife is the daughter of the people I'm travelling with. Yeah, you know, and it was such an obvious twist that it was just bad. People had guessed it at that point, you know.
Yeah.
It was just naff, really. It really was. Yeah. Like, even looking back, it's just an awful twist because everybody knew it was. The only reaction they got was, okay, yeah, we were right. Kind of like I was with Missy being the master, because I went Missy, mistress, master. I made those 3 steps as soon as they released the name. And I was like, well, I wonder if I'm right. And then I was like, oh god, they've actually done it. They've changed the okay.
Oh.
But I wasn't like, whoa, you know. There was no like kind of like a good one was like when the Daleks came out of the orb in Army of Ghosts.
Yeah.
/ Tuesday, you know, when they came out of that orb, that was a crazy twist.
It's all because I think Moffat really did try to change the format of the show as a whole, really. Because I think I read this somewhere else a bit, but of course, yeah, when you look at it, of course, what Russell T Davies did was continue kind of what the classic series did. They kind of had a Monster of the Week kind of format, but it worked. It was entertaining, and you got a lot of good, solid stories out of that because you could just focus on the monster, focus on the Doctor, and focus on the situation that they're in every week, as opposed to, as I said, an art-based show, which requires a lot more.
I think, and I think the problem when you do an arc and you have other writers writing on it, there's been a lot of continuity problems as well in the era, which also becomes quite annoying. And people are still asking questions, you know, like questions about, oh, but when did that happen? When did this happen? How did they do it?
Yes, still.
And like the Russell T Davies era was never that complicated. It was simple.
Need to be.
And I think actually that's another thing which has been lacking this series, which has been era has been quality of monsters.
It's true. A lot of the monsters that we've seen in the latest series, like, I think we talked about this a couple of times. I don't know, was it on the podcast or?
I think it was on a podcast.
But basically, none of the monsters I think introduced since the Moffat era really has much potential to return and be consistent. Nothing is memorable enough or really lends itself to be that kind of returning threat. You know, you can see a few things from the Russell T Davies era, like potentially coming back or coming back in other ways. Heck, stuff like Savine did, you know, in other ways.
Ood have survived. Ood have been in loads, you know.
And there's still
Cigarettes still are about, but you see, I don't think Chibnall's going to use any of the Moffat era villains.
No, there is like, I don't see any of them.
The Silence had potential, but they were just used badly.
Yeah, they were kind of the most memorable, like, identifiable villain. But they kind of weirdly ended that arc, and it kind of petered off. So they had the whole thing about, they're attacking the Silence, and then, then they had this weird thing at the end suddenly, now they're working with the Doctor.
The end time of the Doctor, it was kind of out of
kind of came out of left field, like, if you weren't paying. Like, my first time watching, no idea that was going to happen. Like, what the heck? Why are they suddenly? What they were the villains? Why? What?
Yeah, well, it was a chapter, is what it was called, split off, and it was the Silence in that chapter who were the ones trying to kill the Doctor. The rest were fine working with the Doctor and trying to get Silence to fall, blah blah blah. But
who's going to care about that sort of?
I don't know. I think they were perfectly. I guess it's because they're not actually bad guys, quote unquote. But I mean, I think that also ruined what they were, because they were great villains.
Yeah.
So I think, I just don't see anything returning. Except, it's interesting. Return of Dr. Mysterio. At the end, the alien with the split half head got away in a unit. In a unit person. Hasn't been brought up since. I doubt that's the Christmas special. So the problem is if that's something in the Chibnall era, it's like, why is that passing over? I want the Chibnall.
I don't think that's gonna. I don't see it.
They've just left this weird thing then. Then that's just a weird thing. It's like, if that wasn't going to be sorted out in like the first episode, because that's what I thought it was. I thought first episode of a new series with Bill was going to be that. Not that I'm complaining. I do like the pilot. It's, not the best story, but it was a solid opener, which was fine. But another one is of the casting of the Doctors and what people have thought of them. Obviously, David Tennant was going to be a harder act to follow, especially as, kids are quite sentimental and, you want to stick with what you grew up with, and change is hard. Matt Smith coming in, but I don't know.
Initially, right off the bat,
they didn't drop too far the viewing figures.
Well, not initially. I think a lot of people were very unsure just because of his lack of experience, lack of proof, especially considering some of the people who were being suggested to be the replacement. Like, he seemed like a slightly lackluster disappointment, to be honest, when you first hear about him. The viewing figures didn't initially drop off, but as I said, I talked to a lot of people who dropped off during Series 5. Matt Smith, for a lot of people, was just a bit too weird in a way, like, the way he acted, is good, and like in a lot of stories it works really well. And I think a lot of fans do really enjoy it. Like a lot of fans, especially like in America, like look on that even more fondly probably than David Tennant.
I think.
But for a lot of people here, at least, it was too weird and kind of.
It was too different for what they were used to with Chris and then David. They were, there was the kind of hard war hero kind of thing, who didn't want to be a hero, but was just trying his best. Then we had David, who was like the hero, the romantic hero, really, who kind of swaggered in with this kind of charm. But then Matt was very. See, the thing is I'm fine with the Doctors being very different in personality, and I'm fine with eras being different. But I think the problem is just this era, the Moffat era, just hasn't. It's had a good finish, at least. I'd like to say, but there was just 3 years, 4 years in there, which were just a bit.
I have to say, the casting of Capaldi was an excellent actor, but that ain't going to appeal to the kids.
Yeah, and it's not going to appeal. Yeah, a lot of people dropped off because then the people who had love eyes for Matt Smith Like, do you remember the outrage? There were loads of YouTube videos of people complaining about Capaldi being too old, which
Well, it's because they got this because the new series are kind of set up this predetermined thing that the Doctor has to be kind of young, like, which and like say we were at school not too long ago, we've had heard kids complaining about oh, he's rubbish, he's terrible,
and then you go, oh, did you watch any of his episodes? And they're like, no. That's the thing I hate when you ask people. Like, how many episodes? Oh, I watched the first one of his series and I didn't like him.
Yeah, Deep Breath wasn't even that good of a story, which, was probably...
And to be honest, Capaldi's a bit weird in that one.
Yeah.
That's
not a good representation of him as a whole.
I think Capaldi's best Series 9 onwards.
Yes, definitely. But a lot of people kind of gave up after the first series, which you can understand, right? If you don't...
Yeah.
First impressions are very important in this thing.
Yeah, I think if he'd been I think he was a bit too harsh in Series 8.
Yeah.
He was a bit too... He had too much... He was obsessed with Clara and the boyfriend. Again, it was a soap and nobody cared. I didn't like that thing with the Danny, and it was just, oh, and he shot a child, and drama, and I don't know, just don't really care about that. I cared more about Jackie, but it's not because she had this, horrible past, she killed a child. It's just because we saw her often enough. You know what? She was a mum, and as kids, everyone, a lot of people have mums, and, so you kind of felt that kind of connection of, would I be able to run away from my mum? And, that's what made you care about her. And she was a bit funny, so she made you laugh. So, again, you cared about her. But...
Yeah, Clara, we didn't even see her family much.
Oh, yeah, and that was weird. So, once in Time with a Doctor, then never again. And now she's dead, but, what happened to the family?
Dead.
And, yeah, it was just a bit weird. But the one that I've kind of been thinking about, which I don't think people usually talk about, is kind of the Doctor Who TV universe. So it started off, just Doctor Who, and then after Series 2, then there was Torchwood, and then there was Sarah Jane Adventures, and in 2008 we had Sarah Jane. It was Doctor Who. Then, Torchwood, a few weeks after Doctor Who finished. And then there was Sarah Jane in the autumn. And, I didn't watch Torchwood, okay, but for people who did watch all three, that was a great time to be a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
You had this universe, and it crossed over. Yeah. The finale of Series 4... That was the Avengers Assemble, basically, of Doctor Who.
And also, just in general, in the whole grand scale of TV, you also had Confidential and Totally Doctor Who and such, which made the whole show, even to the outside viewer, seem a lot bigger.
Yeah, it felt like this grand thing, which, you should watch for sure, because then, people were like, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. But, I just mean just those, I know there was those in general, but just having those free. And then, obviously, Sarah Jane Adventures had to stop, sadly. It couldn't continue without Elizabeth Sladen, and it would be stupid too. But why did Torchwood need to stop? It was doing perfectly fine, so there was no reason for it to stop.
How's the moving figures for the last few seasons of it?
I'll have a look now, but I think they were perfectly fine. But yeah, and basically, the Doctor Who universe, the television cinematic universe, it shrunk completely. It went from super big to nothing. And the last series of Torchwood was in 2011, which is when Series 6 happened. And it disappeared. And then, ever since then, views have kind of started to dip. And I think it's because Doctor Who just doesn't feel as big anymore.
It doesn't feel as big, doesn't feel as epic, doesn't feel as important. It's kind of getting to the stage, almost as it did when it get cancelled, where it's it kind of feels arbitrary that it's here in some ways. And it hasn't got to that point yet.
They're about viewers was about equal to what Doctor Who viewers now for Torchwood. It was about the last episode was 5.13 million viewers when it aired.
Yeah, that isn't bad.
So that's about that's better than some episodes of Doctor Who's getting now. And I think bringing back Torchwood, or at least having Captain Jack reappear in Doctor Who. I think it needs to. The problem is when you give people this large universe and then you shrink it again.
Yeah,
It made it feel like it was dying.
it did, and like I think also them closing I could bring this up briefly, but Confidential especially when that went, that kind of made it.
Yeah.
Because that had been going since the beginning, and like now that once they shut that down, it made it Doctor Who seem a bit less
big.
Yeah, big on TV. Because again, it had that huge presence. It was everywhere, and like
it was their biggest. It was their biggest thing, and I think now.
And then the BBC decided for some reason that they couldn't just focus on that. But the amount they took it down a notch, they didn't just take it down a notch; they completely cut it down a notch. So it's basically just kind of just Doctor Who with limited marketing to bring it even more in. Because what the other shows also did was just general marketing, like you pass it on TV, something again, just make it seem bigger.
Yeah. It just
it
didn't need any bigger marketing because it was just from the creators of Doctor Who, I think, or
and it was, and another thing that I don't think helps, just in general. Actually, this is one thing I've been thinking about, but and this has been to some extent affecting TV as a whole. But of course, when we were growing up, a lot of of course, it was kids. A lot of the who was the biggest Doctor Who audience,
I'd say
very
just
much
5 to about
but
12.
A lot of those now are watching stuff on streaming services of various kinds. There's a lot less people now watching live TV as there was back in 2005. A lot of people are deciding to watch just stuff on Netflix or just watch stuff on Hulu or whatever. And I mean, Doctor Who is on some of those devices. But of course, that won't factor into the viewing figures as a whole, or stuff like that. So because people are, especially younger people, are less inclined to watch TV nowadays. I think TV as a whole is slowing down, except for the shows which older people watch. So you look at a lot of the successful shows right now, and older audiences would be into that. But the thing is that Doctor Who is still trying to appeal to the younger audience. So that whole hit problem from earlier comes into effect, that the young people aren't watching TV, and they're scaring off the old people by trying to be hip.
But do you know what I think could have made Class more successful? If they released it on Netflix?
Yes, that might have done
better. If they
better.
had released it on Netflix, and on the picture they had, from the creators of Doctor Who, though no one who worked on it actually worked on Doctor Who except Peter Capaldi himself. But whatever. From the universe of Doctor Who, then it would have done a whole lot better.
Yes,
because on Netflix you turn on and there's trending now or brand new, and people binge, and they could have binged all 8 episodes, or at least do the one a week thing. But they still could have done it, and it would have been no kid watches iPlayer. No kid watches iPlayer. No. I rarely flick onto iPlayer.
I only do if
I'm bored. I'm bored as hell.
If I've missed an episode, if say I was
but that was when you but that's not the casual viewer. That's because you've missed it though. Yeah. But a casual viewer, they're not going to go back. No kid goes onto iPlayer. I'm sorry. The large majority of people who'd want to stumble upon it, the common viewer, is not on iPlayer.
No. It was the same issue they had with the BBC Store as well.
I mean, to be honest, if they'd done a deal with Netflix, they probably could have got...
They did have Doctor Who on Netflix as well for a while.
No, it's still on there.
Still on there.
But, I think if they'd done a deal with Netflix, it was a Netflix and BBC show, they could have had a bigger budget as well.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying in any way that Doctor Who itself should be on Netflix. That's a BBC show.
Oh, no,
first and foremost.
That's fine. I meant the spin-off, though. If they were going to release it online first, then put it on Netflix.
And in any case, that's marketing. That's something to make Doctor Who feel bigger.
Yeah,
as opposed to
Netflix,
being sidelined to the back of
iPlayer
/BBC, /. late at BBC.
Oh yeah,
one,
the
wasn't it?
graveyard shift. It was
Yeah.
stupid.
But no, it just if it had a presence on Netflix as well. Again, that's marketing. That's that's saying, oh yes, Doctor Who. I remember that show. Maybe I might want to tune back in.
And that's why people were excited for Class, because it was getting bigger. And you know what? Class was gritty. So you know what could have overlapped with Class? Torchwood. It could have happened.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense. You know, Sarah Jane and Torchwood couldn't have overlapped. Well, Sarah Jane could have appeared in Torchwood, but Torchwood really couldn't have appeared in Sarah Jane without it being a bit naff. Because Torchwood basically would have just shot the alien. It would have ended quite quickly.
And well, I mean, I think Jack on his own perhaps
Jack could have, but
yeah.
he usually carried a gun, and like for CBBC, that's not really a...
Well, you kind of use him like you did like in them together like you kind of did in the companion things like Journey's End and such.
Yeah, true. But yeah, it's yeah, so that's kind of it really. I mean, what do you think? Why do you think views have been dropping?
Maybe it's just momentum.
Below. Yeah, is it just over time?
Just momentum.
But also, I think like the year gap in 2016 doesn't help either.
But I don't think the viewers dropped off significantly afterwards, though. Oh, in 2016. Well,
between Series 9 and this series just gone, there's been a drop.
I mean, but yeah,
of about 0.5 million. Like, it's still quite a big. That's
it's true.
500.
It's true. I just think less people in general are, like, but this is a weird situation because in other countries it's actually doing bigger than it's ever done. Like it's
America,
continuing to do well.
South
and they've got
America.
like a new deal in China, don't they?
Yeah, they just got a new one where they'll show the episodes, the new ones, kind of straight away.
You know, in a lot of like this isn't like at risk of the show necessarily because like it's got enough foreign success to where
I'm talking about kind of
it'll
the
be
UK.
okay. And it'll
UK.
probably continue to show for several more seasons, I wouldn't doubt, even if the viewers dropped like substantially here, like because they got enough foreign like
support
to where it would continue anyway. And I think the fan base is large enough that they, unless it got really truly awful, they wouldn't leave.
Yeah, the only time I think I'd stop watching a series is if they just went completely, just putting their agendas and what they believe in down, or like if they're just using Doctor Who as a way to just shove their political view,
and not like it was like say in John Pertwee's era, because that was using themes and ideas of
like the Zygon invasion and version. They used the ISIS situation. They used that,
but the message. Sorry,
the message. Yeah, it was using.
It was a universal message.
Yeah, it was like it was inspired by that, but it wasn't solidly. They didn't go, ISIS.
It was using the ideas to create something unique. It was it was the premise, and it was delivering a message which is universal. Heck, people on the right can kind of identify because, a lot of people on the left kind of all group them all together. That is a universal message. Not everybody within a larger group is going to be radical or bad. That's a universal message. But if they try to make it all in one direction,
this is how you should be thinking. This is how it is now. Your opinion is wrong if it's not this.
It's that's
when we'll be worried, and that's when I'll be a bit more. Do I really want to be watching this anymore? I probably still will watch it on iPlayer, but I wouldn't really want to watch it live. So yeah, the first few episodes of this series are going to be really
very important
for how the future of the show goes.
If it's I really just hope it's just Doctor Who. Like that's really just what I want. It's just an entertaining show with consistently entertaining episodes week in, week out. I don't need
I want the
to be hit
back. I want because the thing is then they built up Unit and they have Osgood and they have Kate Stewart, but where were they last season? What happened in the Monk trilogy? Why were they not there? That was surely a Unit level something which they would have been involved in. Why were they not there? And it's like they're bringing in all these cool characters which they could use to make the universe bigger, but then they don't use them. Like, we had the Victorian gang, and I was getting bored of them, but at least they kind of made the universe feel a bit bigger. They should have had a spin-off at least, or something,
I'm not sure about spin-off, but,
they at least made it feel a bit bigger, the world.
I know this is a slightly smaller thing in general, but this is kind of where Big Finish comes in. They've done the unit kind of spin-off with, like, Kate and such. The casual viewers aren't gonna care about that. That's only for the core fans, very much so.
Yeah,
but
I like what they do, but the problem is like, people don't want to pay to listen to those spin-offs. They want them kind of free on the TV. I know you pay for a TV license, but
people don't think like that.
Yeah, nobody thinks like that. But like, just bring Captain Jack back. I mean, Chris Chibnall wrote a lot of Torchwood. I think 7 scripts or more, maybe 5, but he wrote a lot, and I think his strongest move would be to bring back Torchwood in an episode. Make it gritty. Because, I mean, Captain Jack reacting to the Doctor being a woman will be pretty fun. That would be a situation where I'd like it. It would be enjoyable. And, yeah, I guess we will see kind of what happens. But, yeah, I think the strongest move would be bring back Torchwood.
Yeah. Possibly.
I don't know. Class,
or perhaps even...
Class, I think, is a bit too lost.
Perhaps do an entire another spin-off. Like, there are characters and situations you can do. Like, some of the potential ones they could have kind of already kind of passed, admittedly.
I still think they could bring back Sophie Aldred.
But,
do an Ace-based spin-off. They'd have to bring her back in the series first. But I think they could really do something cool with Ace.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, like, especially, like, in modern characters, heck, even with, like, Unit or something, you could outright make a spin-off of that.
Yeah, I mean, Unit would be an amazing spin-off. Because it would be more adult. I'd say it would have to be adult. It couldn't be kiddie.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and just introduce a new character, I think. So you have Kate, and you have Osgood, and then it's kind of... Torchwood starts this way. Gwen isn't already part of a team. She's a police officer, and she stumbles upon Torchwood, who has a character which we already know, which is Jack in it, which is how they could do this Unit series. So
we need
it's a kind of usual, but the character stumbles upon Unit. They keep getting under their feet. Probably a reporter, because that would be nice, kind of a Sarah Jane nod kind of thing. And then they get in the team, and then you have this Unit team, and then they solve stuff, and that could be on the TV, because I mean Osgood, and to be honest, then you have. I wouldn't even mind if it was a a female-led series. What would that matter? Like, it wouldn't matter. And then you just bring in a tech guy, and then you've got a solid team, and then they could cross over. And then that girl who's been introduced in the series of Unit, case files or whatever they call it, then she eventually comes over into Doctor Who, and then there'll be that exciting crossover. It's like Game of Thrones. Everybody's waiting for when this character's going to meet this character. That's the big thing, and that's what's exciting when you can't wait. And like Avengers, people can't wait for Doctor Strange to meet Tony Stark because they're the beard bros in the comics. People cannot wait for the crossovers where people meet characters which we never thought would happen.
Yeah.
That's what people are excited for, and that's why I think having the Doctor appear in Class Episode 1 didn't help. I think he should have appeared in the finale.
Quite possibly.
Because the speech he gives, like, oh yeah, you need to watch it. They hadn't really earned the responsibility to watch over the school, But by the end of the series, if they'd stopped all these alien threats, and then he turns and goes, "Yeah, you're the protectors," that would have been way more powerful, I think.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to be this big grab that he was in the first episode. But the problem is then they blew their load too early.
Yeah. And again, nobody bothered tuning in.
Yeah, that also, because iPlayer's shite player.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's kind of it, really. I think there's a lot of things. They need to regrow the universe. The problem is they grew it big and it shrunk. And it's just continued to kind of shrink in terms of the universe itself. Viewing is not the kind of... I think that's part of it, the views.
Yeah.
For the casual viewer.
And what's happening in the show itself, I think, has significantly, because again, not enough kids are watching TV. The old people, they're trying to turn away, and basically the few people that are left are mainly core fans.
Yeah, and the ones who kind of see it through thick
Which
and
is,
thin.
considering we've gotten around to around the same viewing figures that we did around Survival, haven't we?
Oh yeah, one of them was
Yeah.
lower than Survival.
Survival, yeah. Which you know,
No, what was it? The lowest was it Survival? Oh yeah, it was. Survival had the lowest figures, like 3.9.
yeah.
I think
and we got to that
Overnight
level.
of Rona Munro's
Yeah.
episode was under that. It was like 3.2.
Kind of ironic, but
Yeah.
you know, it's yeah. Basically, it feels like almost. I mean, of course, not completely like, but it feels like kind of the same core fans are kind of just coming and continuing to watch the show, while everyone else is just coming and going depending on what's happening. Again, this is the first episode of next season is gonna have such a big rate because like people are gonna be watching that.
Even the first scene.
Yes,
Even the first scene in Twice Upon a Time this Christmas. Big moment.
Christmas specials do well.
Big
always.
moment.
It will. If they mess this up,
If they mess up the first scene alone, I know exactly how it's gonna go. People are gonna hate her first scene. They're gonna go, "Oh, I hate her," blah blah blah. "Ah, she's awful," blah blah blah. I think the big problem is there's gonna be that 8-month gap between Christmas and her first series. Matt Smith only had between January 1st and April 3rd to have his first story, like a few months.
yeah.
So like, you didn't have to wait long. But I think the problem is when you're kind of anxiously waiting, I think the fear or the hate might get worse.
Or yeah, I'd also argue in some ways
to mellow.
Yeah,
but
that's
I think
what I was
that's
gonna
what's
say.
happened recently. After it's been about when did that happen? It happened on July, your birthday,
Yes.
yeah, 16th, and and now it's been almost 3 months since then. No, 2 months almost, and it's started to mellow.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are less like angry or anything at it. I think
people
a lot of people are
accepting
just
it.
kind of.
I think
Well,
I'm
I
still
think it's
kind of
more.
in shock it's happening. I'm still
Yeah.
like, oh wow, that is actually happening still.
I think it's very much more of a let's see what they do with this kind of thing. I
Now,
think it's
yeah.
kind of because it's
The initial shock's kind of gone.
yeah. We'll see how it progresses. It can either work really well in their favor or backfire horribly.
Really
It's really
badly.
it's. We'll see how this goes.
It's risky times.
It's yeah.
But yes, thank you very much for listening to our podcast about why we think viewing is going down, and in the UK mainly. I mean, it's growing other places, but
Yeah.
the general.
I don't know because
it's-
I think America kind of reached the peak in Matt Smith's, and
I think the core viewer is the only one that's staying now. We're not. Doctor Who's not getting that casual viewer.
Yeah, it's not a whole wide like most kids kind of thing. It's
And we
Yeah.
forgot to mention the time it was airing as well. Doctor Who has started airing really late, and
no,
that
we
didn't help.
didn't for last series,
Not last series. That's
which is
and actually, still.
Yeah, so
but I
that
think
doesn't mean-
also series 9 was after Strictly, which I don't think helped either.
yeah. In some ways, though, you could also argue that maybe like kids are still watching after Strictly with the parents.
Kids don't
so-
watch Strictly.
Some do.
Some do, but not the casual viewer. I think the ones who only like Strictly watch Strictly. Casual viewers cannot sit through like 2 hours worth of dancing.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it, but a lot of casual viewers aren't a fan of dancing. But anyway, thank you. Comment below what you think. Do you want the universe to expand? Do you think they should create a new spin-off, or try and resurrect Class, or bring back Torchwood?
Or stop trying to be so hit with the kids,
Or- yeah, anything that we've said, if you don't agree, comment below, please, politely. But give your own opinions on how you think and why you think it's happening. I mean, you can see them on every Doctor Who story. You can see the list of UK viewers in millions at the side. And let us know how you feel. Do you feel the show is smaller than it was back in 2008? Do you feel like it's smaller than it was then? And let us.
Oh, I mean, I think it's definitely. I don't think there's much question of it being smaller, as it were.
Yeah.
It's become. Yeah, it definitely has become more of a core thing. In any case, I don't think there's any
It feels
denying that.
alone. It feels like it had its posse, and then the posse kind of left. But the thing is, I don't know why Torchwood stopped. I think the BBC just went, nah, not gonna do it anymore. Sorry.
Well, because I think in general, like around that time, they just kind of decided there was too much Doctor Who on TV, and
No, but that was ages later. That was 2011. This was like during Series 6. Like, they axed that stuff just at the end of Matt Smith's first season. Confidential even went before that, because they only had confidential cut downs then later on.
Yeah, which was...
Or online. But yeah, so, thank you very much for listening. Subscribe or not. Don't just be someone who feels like they have to watch it. Be the casual viewer, you know. But if you want to be a core viewer, then you can subscribe. Yeah, boy.
Good enough.
Yeah, that'll do. So, we'll see you next time. Boy!